We're going to start Mr. Chagiga. We are on Daf Het Zayin Amud Aleph. So we are on 16A2 in the Hebrew in the article edition. We're in the bottom left on the English side and the first of the white lines in the Hebrew side. Kol mistakel ba'arba dvarim. So the Mishnah way back on Yud Aleph, we had a lot of Gemara since then. So um, said anyone looks at these four things, right? It's better if he never came to this world. What are the four things? What was on top? What's on bottom? What was before? And and what would be afterwards? So our Gemara picks up and says, Bish lema. It'll make sense to say, don't look what will be on top, what is on bottom, and what will be afterwards, right? That makes sense. But rather what was before, what's the problem to look what was before? What was before was. Okay, so it was, that's it. It already was, so you take a look at it. What's in the future, I understand. It's above your comprehension. What's on top in the Shema above your comprehension? What's on bottom? It's also beyond your world and your universe. You're beyond your comprehension. But what was before, you are a result of it before. So why can't you look what was before? Mada hava. Rabbeinu Hanan understands this being, by the way, that the way to understand God is through the Torah, Mitzvot, Maasim, Chukim, Mishpatim, and not through other type of knowledge. Therefore, you only have to know what you have to know in order to know God. That's the way Hashem wants to relate to you, and that's the way He wants you to have the knowledge of Him. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar, the Amrei Tarveo. Both Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lazar say as follows: It's a comparison, a marshal to a king of flesh and blood who says to his servants, Benu li paltirin gidolin al ha'ashba. Build me a magnificent palace upon the trash heap. They went in to build him a palace on that trash sanitation dump. Now, the king does not want for that to be mentioned that that there was a garbage dump on that spot. Okay, so therefore, don't look at what was before because it's not a respect to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. We don't want to talk about what was before because there was a garbage dump there. What does that mean? So there is a Midrash Rabbah, which I believe we spoke about in the past, but the Midrash Rabbah says as follows: Shekadosh Baruch Hu that Kadosh Baruch Hu built a bunch of worlds and he destroyed a bunch of worlds until he built this world. Okay, and Ein Eliyahu explains that just like when you take a seed, it breaks down and in the ground, and then finally it grows. So too, this world was built and broken down, and now came out of it this world that we have here today. And in the Yisrael Rav Belsky, he says the same idea. He says that we are actually living on a planet that had previous stuff on there, and those are the building blocks and the fuels and everything else that we use today from those previous worlds. So in my mind, that's saying, hey, if the scientists say there were dinosaurs and Neanderthals and this, and this, and this, and this, and we don't see it, and we're like, oh, what are you talking about? Well, guess what? That you're looking in the Ashba, and that's not appropriate to look at the Ashba, but that's how it is because there are many worlds, and they were built and destroyed until we have this world that we have today. Okay, continues the Gemara. Anyone doesn't honor his creator, it would have been better for him never to come to this world. What's considered a person who doesn't have concern for the honor of Hashem. Rabbi Abba says, this is somebody who looks at a rainbow. Someone who looks at a rainbow doesn't show proper honor to Hashem. We will see why in a moment. Rabbi Yosef Amar. Rabbi Yosef says, this is someone who does a sin in private. Person does a sin in private, it means he doesn't show proper respect to Hashem. Both of this are going to be explained. Mistakel v'keshet. if someone looks at a rainbow. First of all, some Mefarshim say, doesn't say Haroeva Kesher, someone looks at a Kesher, but it says Mistakel. So the Meiri says this is someone who is gazing and contemplating and thinking about, but a short look is actually going to be required, we're going to see in a moment, to make the bracha that a person says on the rainbow. Why looking at a rainbow is a problem? It is the appearance of the likeliness. It's like the appearance of the likeness of Hashem. It's daima to the Shechina, the rainbow. Miri says that one color is going into the other. You can't find where is what's what, and in that sense, it is similar to the rainbow, and it's similar to the Kivod Hashem, and therefore a person is not allowed to look at the rainbow. We're on 16a2, Masechet Chagiga. Now, outside the Gemara for one moment, there is a parallel Gemara to this sugya, to this topic in Masechet Sotah. And there, and Yaakov brings it in our Gemara, but there he explains a couple other things. The Gemara says that Rava says that they used to bow down when they saw a rainbow, and the reason for that was, they said, because it says that the rainbow is similar to the Shechina, and in the Cheskel, when he says he saw the rainbow, it says ve'epol al panai, and I fell on my face, ve'eshma kol medaber, and I heard the voice speaking. So the pasuk says when Yecheskel saw the rainbow, he sort of bowed down. And when they brought this information to Eretz Yisrael, they were laughing of it, and they said, no, you can't do this because it looks like you're an apikaris and you're bowing down to a rainbow. So rather, what should a person do? You say a bracha, baruch zocher habirit. The Gemara says, is that the only bracha? Is that the right bracha? Rabbi Shmuel gives another bracha, and this is actually the bracha that we say. And that is the bracha that we say on a rainbow. So lahalacha, a person needs to look at the rainbow in order to say this bracha. The bracha is said not more than once a day, meaning if I saw one rainbow and then later in the day I saw another rainbow, you do not make another bracha. It has to be on the next day. If you saw another rainbow, then you can make a bracha. And there is a machloket poskim of whether I should tell someone else that there is a rainbow and they can go ahead and make the bracha. According to Mishnah Berurah, Hayei Adam and others, no, it's not a proper thing to say. Shechina, it's because of Noach. You don't want to tell people about it. If you saw it, you take a look and then you say bracha. According to other poskim, including the Yalkut Yosef, Chamovadia, and others, that want, no, you have a chance to make a bracha, you have someone else give the chance to make the bracha, person should tell others to make the bracha. So the halacha for us, yes, you can go ahead and tell someone else there's a rainbow, and they can go out and make the bracha. They look, you do not mistakel, you don't look too closely, you don't look for too long, you don't contemplate, you look at it and you make a bracha and you move on, you let others know about it as well. Okay, that's regarding the rainbow. Now, the next thing the Gemara says, someone who doesn't show kavod to Hashem is somebody who doesn't aveira b'seter. Rav Yosef Amar, zeh over aveira b'seter. Rav Yitzchak, Amar Rav Yitzchak, kol over aveira b'seter ki ilu doichik ragay shechina. Anyone who does a sin in private and he's doing it so no one else should see, it's as if he's pushing away the shechina. Shnemer koyma Hashem Hashemayim kisiva aretz adam raglai. And the earth is my footstool. I'm here. Kadosh Baruch Hu says I'm here, and this person is doing the sin in private, thinking nobody sees him. And he's really, what he's doing is pushing away the Shekhinah. So now the Gemara's question on this is, we have a very, very interesting statement. Aini, is this really true? Hazakein, if someone sees that his Yitzhar is becoming very strong on him, he should go to a place and no one recognizes him, and he should dress in black, and he should wrap himself up in black. And since he has no control, and he should do what his heart desires, but he should not desecrate the name of Hashem openly. So you have here one that says that doing an Aveda, Beseter, is pushing away the Shekhinah, and you have another one, Rabbi Eloi Hazakin, who says that what? That if you have no choice and you have to make the Aveda, you should do it in a private place and nobody knows, and wearing black and stuff like that. So how do you understand the statement of Rabbi Eloi Hazakin? Is it giving you a heter that giving a person a heter that if he wants to do an Aveda and he has no way to stop it, that he can go ahead and do it like this? Rabbeinu Chananel says, Chas v'sholon. Rabbeinu Chananel says, this is not any heter to go and do an Aveda. And rather, Rabbi Eloi is not even saying to do the Aveda. Rabbi Eloi is saying, this is how you're going to break the Yetzer Hara. The person is sitting in his place, and he has good food and good drink, and he's enjoying entertainment and stuff like that. Obviously, he might come to sin. Right? He became fat. He's kicking. He's having a good time now. So what do? Go to a place nobody recognizes you. It makes you an anav. It puts you down. Nobody knows me here. No one's giving me the proper respect. Wear black. Black was a sign of mourning and other things like that. And then he's not going to even come to do the Aveda. That's the way Rabbeinu Chananel wants to learn. Tosafot on our page says, no, it's legamrei. Rabbi Eloi is telling him, listen, you can't stop yourself from sinning. Go and sin in a private place so nobody knows you. Okay? Rashi kind of puts it together. Rashi kind of makes it actually much more understandable, at least in my understanding. Rashi says, let's take a look at this Rashi inside. He's not going to be full of haughtiness. He's going to be in a place nobody knows him. And perhaps he will reduce the koach of the Yetzer Hara. So like Rabbeinu Chananel, go to a place nobody knows you, and you'll reduce, and you'll combat the Yetzer Hara. And even if he sins, see, so now Rashi says, even if he does sin in this other place, no one's going to pay attention to him. It won't be a Chil Hashem. And therefore, if he does the sin in a place nobody knows, at least it won't be that bad. So that's the way to understand Rabbi Eloi. I really enjoy all the pshatim, but I think Rashi kind of puts them both together and makes it very, very easy to digest. Yes, you don't want to go ahead and give the guy permission to make an Avera, but rather you tell him, go here, dress like this, and break down your Yetzer Hara. And if that doesn't work, and he makes a sin in a place that nobody recognizes him, then at least it won't be a huge Chil Hashem. Imagine if a rabbi or a gadol or someone like that makes a sin in public, or even a father makes a sin in public, it's going to be very embarrassing and a big Chil Hashem. So the Gemara now wants to know, we have one Rabbi Eloi that says make the sin in private, and you have Rabbi Yosef who says that someone who does the sin in private, he's not showing proper respect to Hashem. So the Gemara says, like Kasha, it all depends. If the guy can break his Yetzer Hara, if the guy can say, listen, my Yetzer Hara is not so big, and he does the Avera anyway, so then he's not showing Kivod Hashem. He's not even trying to put up a fight. But if a person is putting up a fight, and the Yetzer Hara is still winning him, now he goes somewhere else, at least over there, he's still showing respect to Hashem. He's doing the Avera somewhere else, even though he's doing Avera. He's still doing it in a place that's not going to be embarrassing, but he's able to fight it as well. He's trying to, right? And this place where a guy doesn't fight it at all, and he does the sin in private, that is another problem. That's what's called not showing proper respect to Hashem. Okay. Continues the Gemara. Darish Rabbi Yehuda Nachmani mit Turguman Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Nachmani, the spokesman, the Turgumana, he of Reish Lakish said as follows: Kol mistakel b'shloish dvarim einav kahot. Anyone who looks at these three things, his eyes will get weakened. Why will his eyes get weakened? We're going to see that these three things represent somewhat the Shekhinah. And as such, if you look at the Shekhinah, it says in the Torah, you can't look at Hashem. And if a person looks at Hashem, person looks at Hashem won't live. So here, the guy's not looking actually at Hashem, but he's looking at something that's comparable to the Shekhinah. Therefore, he would lose his eyesight. What are these three things? Bakeshet, uvanasi, uvakohanim. The rainbow, the prince of the Jewish people, uvakohanim, and a Kohen. Bakeshet, having nobody rainbow. We already saw this. The Chtiv, it says in Yechezkel, it's similar to the honor and glory of Hashem. Benasi, And Moshe Rabbeinu put his majesty, which is the majesty of Hashem, put his spirit on Yeshua. So the Gedolim walk around with what's it called? Somewhat of Hashem Shekhinah on them. Hamistakel b'kohanim b'zman sheb'mishkayim. If you look at Kohanim, when the Beis Hamikdash was kayam, shu'ovdim al duchan, and when they were standing on the platform, and they were saying the Birkat Kohanim, at that point there was the Shekhinah resting upon their knuckles or in between their fingers. The Shekhinah was resting, and therefore you couldn't look at that time either. Now, interestingly enough, again, Meir would say, "Kol mistakel, don't look too much," because why? A keshet, but keshet, you have to look at it a little bit in order to say the bracha. By a nasi, we know it says that v'yu einecha reot et morecha. A person should see his rabbis, so you want to look at him a little bit, right? Not too much, but a little bit at least. But the Kohanim blessing, maybe the person shouldn't look at all. There, maybe you could look for a second, maybe not at all. L'maisa, the Gemara here says this is only when the Kohanim were in the Beis Hamikdash on the platform saying Shem Hashem during Birkat Kohanim. And Tosfot's question is, we see Gemara and Megillah where Rashi says even nowadays you shouldn't look at the Kohanim. So there are different opinions, and some want to say it is Zecher LeMikdash, because in the Mikdash they didn't look. So we shouldn't look now as a remembrance of the Beit HaMikdash. Some say, like the Zayir, the Kaf HaChaim, that no, even though there is not that level of Shekhinah as it was in the Beit HaMikdash, there's still some Shekhinah on the hands of the Kohanim when they make the Duchanim, when they're making the Birkat Kohanim, and therefore a person should not look. Today, most of the Kohanim, they put their talit over their hands, and their face and their hands, and as such you won't be able to see. But even such, the halacha doesn't want you to look at the Kohanim at all. Person should avoid looking, but he should not turn his head to the side to avoid looking. He just should either put his towel over his head or look down, but not look at the Kohanim when they are making the bracha. Also, just always mention, we learn something about Kohanim, is the people need to remember they need to face the Kohen. So even though they're all going under the grandfather's talit or the father's talit, everyone still needs to face not the father, not the grandfather, but everyone needs to face the Kohen. You have to actually face the Kohen. Your head can't even be to the side. You have to face the Kohen. So therefore, that's something important to remember. Fine. Darish Rav Yehuda, Rav Nachmani, Mutar Gamaned Reish Lakish. Another teaching from Yehuda Rav Nachmani. My yichtib, what does it mean? Al ta'aminu v'ra, al titachu ba'aluf. Do not trust a friend. Do not rely on an official. What does this mean? Im yarmer l'cha yetzahara. The yetzahara comes and says to you, Chatav HaKadosh Baruch Hu moicha. Make a sin, Hashem is going to forgive you. Al ta'amen. Do not trust him. Why? Shneimar al ta'amen b'ra ve'ein ra ela yetzahara. Shneimar ki yetzah levadam ra. You should know the yetzahara is known as a ra. So al ta'aminu v'ra, the friend is an actual evil yetzahara. The aim aluf is Kadosh Baruch Hu, and who is aluf? Kadosh Baruch Hu. Aluf neorei shnei neoluf neorai ata. Shema. So a person is gonna. What's the shot of the Yitzhar? Yitzhar is gonna say, listen, you have this sin, get it over with, do the sin, but then you're gonna do mechila. And Hashem is beloved. Hashem is merciful. Hashem accepts tshuva. Hashem make tshuva. Do your sin and then do tshuva. What's going to happen? We know avera goret avera. When a person does a sin, one sin is not enough. The sin requires more sin, more sin. It's going to get the guy so bad. It's going to be very hard for him to do tshuva. The Yetzer Hara is not going to invest all his energy for you to make a sin and then right away to do tshuva. He's going to want a person to do more and more of it. He doesn't want to give in. He's not going to want, right, for you to make teshuvah, for a person to make teshuvah. Now, Shema Tomar Mi Merid Bi. Perhaps a person will say, "Who's gonna know? I'm making a sin. No one's gonna know. Who's gonna come and say, oh, you made a sin? I'm not gonna say anything. So who's gonna say? Avnei Veto. You should know the stones of a person's house is gonna be me'id. It's gonna testify to his sins. The korot Veto Shel Adam, and the beams of his house are gonna testify to his sin. Hey me'idim bo. They're gonna testify. And some explain because when a person does an avirah, like based on the Beit HaLevi, a person does an avirah, penetrates his whole body and his whole atmosphere, everything around him. So even the beams, the walls, everything, the ceiling, everything gets the Avirah as well. And as such, he's now they're now going to come and testify to his Avirot. Not only your stones and your beams, but Nishmato Shel Adam Idabo. Also the neshama of a person himself. Now, one neshama is connected to the guf, right? It's sins and it's sullied and it might not say anything. But once the neshama separates from the body, the shama comes out and says, "Oh, this body is going to do this and this and this and this. It's going to sell you out." The shama itself is going to be me'id. Shenemar b'shochechecha shimor pitchei picha. Hi davar sheshochevet b'cheko shel adam. Hevi omar zo nishama. This is the nishama. The bizekama. Shnei malchei ashar tamar levin oto. You know, it's going to be given witnessing. It's the two malachai the angels that come around with you. Him edin bo. They're going to say, testify against your sin. Shneimar ki malachav. Itzavelach lishmocha bechol derachecha. They're always there. They're always recording everything you do. They're going to see. They're going to tell. This is the guy. This is the sin he did. Chachamim v'yesh omrim. Not only them, the limbs of a person is going to make the testimony. So what's going to happen is that the person's own limbs, right, will testify for his sin. Every Avirah penetrates the whole person. And the Avirah, their mitzvot that correspond to the Evarim. And there are Evarim, and the Avirot are also corresponding to the Evarim. So the person sins, it affects those limbs, and those limbs are going to come and testify, Chas v'shalom, against the person who makes sins. So this Gemara really ends, and this is really the end of this sugya of Agadata. There is a little more Agadata in the next piece, which we're not learning today, and then we're going to get into real halacha sugyot in Masechet Chagiga. Now, just to put us in perspective, really this Gemara was coming on the heels of the story of Acher. And Acher, when we saw the whole thing, how it started, it wasn't Lishma, and he had little issues, and he wasn't mitaken them. Person is not mitaken them, Haz Shalom, becomes a lot of problems. So a person has to realize that there is kavod Hashem that a person has to give, and a person has to know that he's flawed, he's ra from day one, and he has to work on fixing it. And he has to work on not embarrassing Hashem and showing proper kavod Hashem. And if a person does that, he'll be mitaken himself, and he'll be zaycha to Olam Hazev or Olam Haba, and showing kavod Hashem properly, and learning Torah properly, and going in the right places, him and his entire family. Okay, we're going to leave it over here. B'ezrat Hashem. Next time, we'll pick up from here. Shavuot Tov L'kulam.